So we've got to respond to this. Now, the good side of this is we can respond. This is not so big and daunting that we can't do this. And in the doing of it, there's a huge future that we open up to ourselves. I mean, you guys are all wondering, what are you going to work at when you get out of college? What kind of jobs are going to be there? What's going to happen to our economy? The fact is that the great thing about alternative energy sources is that it provides a whole panoply of jobs that are up and down throughout every sector of the economy. You could have PhDs working in universities on solar configurations and different panels and computerization controls, and you could go right down to the folks who are going to be hammering and banging and doing the carpentry and putting things onto houses and digging the ditches and putting it into place. And every level of the economy is represented in these jobs. The fact is that in 2002, the total alternative energy economy was about $9.5 billion. By 2006, it had become a $55 billion economy. And the estimates are that by 2020, if we keep doing what we're doing, it's going to be over $200 billion in economy. Right here in Massachusetts, we've gone up to, I think it's about 5 or 9 million, somewhere in that thing. We're going to go up to 20 within the next few years. It's one of the largest sectors of the Massachusetts, the 10th largest sector of the Massachusetts economy now, and growing. So the possibilities of the future in clean coal technology, alternatives, renewables, biofuels, who knows what. One of you maybe, is working on alternative, renewable something. You're going to produce something that nobody's even thought about right now. And we've done this before in America. We used to work off of wood. And then we got rid of wood and we started working off whale oil. Nantucket used to provide most of the lighting for New England and for London and so forth. Then we got off of that. We moved into oil and coal and other fossil fuels. And then into nuclear, and wind and hydro, and now alternatives and so forth and so on. We're going to shift for the simple reason that ultimately the fossil fuel that is doing this injury runs out. And the big question for all of us is, are we going to have the smarts and the guts to make the decision to move to it by our own volition before we do irrevocable damage to the planet? That's the choice that's staring at us. You all have the power now to go out and make this difference. I'm not kidding you when I say that. Local communities and states are way ahead of the federal government. There is a regional compact here in New England for the mandatory reduction targets. There's a regional compact in the Midwest. There's a regional compact in California for mandatory reductions. Over half of the American economy has already voluntarily, at a state and regional level, put itself under responsible actions to try to reduce emissions, but not the federal government. Meanwhile, you have huge other things happening. Walmart is going to try to sell 100 million light bulbs, each of which uses 10 times less the cost, 10 times less than today, saves an average of about $35 over the life per light bulb for a household, and reduces 450 tons of CO2. It's huge. Portland, Oregon, has already voluntarily undertaken steps, well, not voluntarily the city, but they've initiated it, and they've required certain procedures, codes on buildings, codes on fleet purchases, different kinds of recycling programs, different kinds of transportation programs, and guess what? They are already at the 1990 Kyoto levels and going below. There's a compact of mayors across the country that are doing this. So I'll just close by saying to all of you, you do have this power to create accountability at the local level. And what's missing in America today is accountability. Too many of my colleagues are able to vote with the oil industry or vote with big business and walk away from it and go home, and nobody at home knows what they did. Or they go home and say how great they are on the environment despite all those votes, and nobody knows the difference. You all can help to shed the light of democracy and knowledge on what they're doing in state after state, hold them accountable, go to their meetings, be in their face, ask the questions at the public hearings, talk to the press, organize, do everything possible to hold these folks accountable. And you'll be amazed how fast they will begin to change, and we will respond to these needs. And if you do that, you literally have an opportunity to change the course of history and to have as great an impact as any generation has had on any critical issue facing this nation in all of our history. I know you're up to it. You wouldn't be here on a Saturday afternoon spending your time doing this. So I thank you for all of us who are fighting this fight down in Washington. I want to thank Mark Pacheco, I see him over here, Sue Reed, everybody who does such a great job at the Conservation Law Foundation, and Will Brownsberger, who is a spectacular environmentalist in the House, and brings great talent and knowledge to this issue. We're lucky to have those folks doing this at the local level. So, can I count on you to get it done?